For our 6-2 work together, we have the task of doing our two adjusting entries. So our adjusting entries for supplies and our adjusting entries for prepaid insurance. So our first adjusting entry for supplies. So our balance at the beginning of the month was $228 worth of supplies in our supply closet. At the end of the month, someone went through our supplies closet and determined that we have $75 worth of supplies actually on hand at the end of the month. Please do not use these two numbers as the adjustment. Those are just telling us how much we have on hand at the end of the month. In order to determine the amount that we use for our adjustment, we need to do some pretty basic math. So our January 1st balance for supplies was $228. We need to subtract the amount that we had on hand at the end of the month. So our actual adjustment is $153. So now we need to put that into our adjustment column. We need to decrease the amount of supplies that we have. So if we have a debit of $228 for supplies, you decrease a debit with a credit. So we're going to credit supplies for $153 in our adjustment column. And we're going to debit our supplies expense. We always debit supplies. We're debiting our supplies expense for $153. So that is our supplies adjusting entry. One debit, one credit, updating so that our balance will show now the actual amount of supplies that we have on hand. Next, we need to do our prepaid insurance adjustment. So at the beginning of the month, it appears that we had $375 in our prepaid insurance account. So at the start of April, we had $375 to use for insurance expenses. At the end of the month, the actual value for prepaid insurance was $250. So we need to make an adjustment. Do not use these numbers as the adjustment. You have to do some basic math first. So our beginning balance for prepaid insurance from the trial balance column is a debit of $375. At the end of the month, we had $250. So our actual amount that we need to adjust is $125. So to decrease our debit of $375, we're going to credit our prepaid insurance account by $125. And then we need to come down to our insurance expense and debit insurance expense for $125. That is our actual adjustment. These numbers are just telling us how much we have at the end of the month. Those are not our adjustments. You have to do a little bit of math in order to determine what your adjustment is. The beginning of the month amount minus the end of the month amount. Last thing we need to do is total up these two columns to make sure our debits equal credits. Our two debit amounts total to $278. Our two credit amounts total to $278. We are good to go, and that is 6-2.